What is up, guys? In this video I'm gonna give you a beginner's guide for Guardian, which is the tank in Elden Ring Nightreign. So we are going to be talking about his abilities, what his playstyle is, and how to play him better for beating runs. So let's get right into it. Guardian is essentially a meat shield to take enemies aggro, so the other players can take full advantage of dealing damage while not having to worry about getting hit. At least that's how I played him, and I've already beaten all the bosses with him and also beat the final boss first try just because I could block all the attacks even though I have never seen them before. And if my damage dealers were down, I can simply use my ult to revive them instantly. So he is pretty valid like this, so let's talk more about him, how he works. His passive is Steel Guard. The game doesn't really tell you how this works in the select character menu, only in the training section, but you have to dodge while you're bracing your shield normally. He will then go in a more grounded stance and can block attacks with significantly less stamina drain. This makes him really good at taking aggro from enemies, so your team can do free damage while you're blocking. However, when he is bracing like this, he's very slow and his stamina will be drained over time while in this stance. So if you want to get in close, do so without blocking first or just normal bracing in case you do get hit. And then when you're close, you want to dodge in to get the Steel Guard brace when an attack is coming so you can block it better. And this is also great if you're holding a spear, halberd, or even a rapier, so you can keep attacking the enemy while holding up the shield. Because when you're attacking like this, the stamina doesn't drain over time, only for using the attack while in this stance, but you will be able to block with less stamina drain. You can also make use of the guard counter when they're open to break the enemy stances much quicker. If you don't know how to do this, right after you block and attack successfully, you can press the heavy attack and it will do a guard counter. His character skill is Whirlwind. This will be an AoE skill that you can use to launch mobs into the air or make them flinch, depending on their size. However, for huge enemies, it won't cause much flinching. The Cyclone can also block projectiles, but this might happen just by chance most of the time, or you're really good at predicting. While you're launching foes in the air, they will fall to the center of the ability, allowing multiple enemies to be close together for easier multiple takedowns. The center of the ability will start right in front of where you have cast it. If you hold this ability down, you will be able to do a much larger AoE wins. However, this will not increase the damage. There is another better version of this ability, and this can be gained by completing the first Remembrance quest of the Guardian that becomes available when reaching the 4th chapter. To progress in chapters, you simply have to complete runs while playing Guardian and complete the Remembrance quest of him when available, and you can find the chapters at the journal in the round table. You can also start the Remembrance quest there. In these quests, you have to talk to NPCs in the round table hold. Doing so will make it you need to beat a golem for the first quest in your run. While being in the Remembrance, this does have matchmaking, but you can also do it solo quickly because beating the golem shouldn't be a problem and the location is marked with a red flag on the map. And when you're back in the round table hold, you can complete the Remembrance and get the Stone Stake relic. Using this relic will turn the character skill in a repeating whirlwind, making it much more useful for flinching enemies constantly so they can't fight back, but it depends on which enemy. For example, larger enemies won't be affected. The starting point of this ability is a bit different. The middle will be a bit further from where you've cast it, and you will be more around the edges of the ability. Again, here, when you hold the ability down, it will increase in size, but does not make it deal more damage. This will also make it easier to block projectiles with the skill, because you can just put it down so you don't have to time it right. You can also get this skill ability rolled on other relics after completing a run, but it depends on RNG, so the Stone Stake relic is a guaranteed one, and it makes the skill much more effective. His ultimate is Wings of Salvation. This ability will let you fly up in the air while dealing a bit of damage to enemies touching you when you're going up, and after a short delay, you will slam back into the ground for huge damage and staggering enemies. This will also instantly revive any fallen teammates, and you can hold down the ultimate buttons when you're landing to channel an invincible shield in a large area briefly, so you and your team are safe from harm. However, you are stuck while channeling, so you won't be able to move. But while channeling, your teammate should take full advantage of this to deal damage while they can't get hit. Using your ult for damage is great for fighting lesser, tougher enemies, but if you do fight, for example, a Night Lord, you do want to save your ultimate to revive your teammates, especially if they are at a full revive circle, making it a lot easier to revive them quickly. But if you have a strong team, you might want to do it for dealing extra damage in the fight if you're confident they aren't dying anytime soon, or they're still at their first revive circle, which you can just revive them normally. Let's talk about the stats which do play a part in this playstyle. He will gain a lot of health and stamina with leveling, which will make it excellent for tanking a lot with your shield. The FP will be minimal. You will just have enough to apply some buffs with your weapon or shield to make you stronger during a fight. But depending on which weapon you have, some skills are just good to deal damage with, but the small FP amount blocks you from using it more often. So using magic and incantations is limited, so instead you should focus on shield thrust weapon combos. He has a B scaling in strength, so your best bet is to go for weapons that scale with strength. This is why it is better to go for halberds than spears for thrusting weapons, because halberds usually scale the most with strength and spears with dexterity. But it also depends on what you find during runs, what is available, and some spears do scale with strength, mostly the great spears. When you're using halberds with Guardian and do a guard counter, you can hold down the heavy attack button to make him do a unique charge to hit the guard counter with more damage. This is great because you can be pushed back while blocking, and then your guard counter would miss if you do it, but with this charge it makes it easier to hit. During runs, you want to focus on finding equipment and buff rewards that boost your defenses, improved guard counters, and blocking bonuses. Further, you want to find a good shield with a high guard boost, so blocking drains even less stamina, and a halberd or a spear. This will make it so you can stand in front of enemies while being in your steel guard and keep attacking them while shielding their attacks. You want enemies to focus on you. Some relics can roll with a passive that makes it so holding up your shield will draw their attention. This is what you want because then you can just easily block all their attacks while your team is dealing damage. You do run out of stamina eventually, so keep note of this. You don't want your guards broken, but sometimes you do want that to happen if you're about to get hit by a strong attack and moving away is risky. But if not, and you're almost out of stamina, you want to move back to regain your stamina and repeat, getting in close with your shield up. Rewards like increased max stamina and regenerate speed are great for this, as well as getting more max health, so you're less likely to die. Because you do want to be there to revive your teammates. Reviving teammates is also a lot easier when you hold up your shield with steel guard while attacking, because you can just stand still and revive them while blocking attacks. But you do have to angle yourself right facing where the enemies are. If you're using the longer whirlwind, you can use that as well to help a bit more with reviving, and it will block projectiles. For enemies that deal magic damage, don't be afraid to just block the attacks with steel guard. Yes, you will take damage, but it's very minimal, and this is good for the Night Lord fights, which do a lot of AoE magic damage and are hard to dodge, so blocking is a lot easier. If you do find equipment that boosts the elemental resistance you have to face, this will further enhance your block potential, so you can just do the same tactic of moving towards the enemy, get into your steel guard, hoping they will aggro on you, and keep attacking them with your weapon, and if you do run out of stamina, move back and repeat. Of course, there are different ways to play him, and it also depends on what equipment you find on your run, but if you play him like this, you will have a high chance of beating runs. You can go with any good weapon that has decent DPS while using one-handed, because you do want to still use the shield for his passive steel guard. If you're not using a thrust weapon, you can use it to block attacks and do guard counters more regularly, because you won't be able to attack while guarding, which is also a valid playstyle for him. He is viable with any weapon that scales with strength if you do find a really good one. Although using ultra great weapons can be a bit underwhelming one-handed, so if you are quick enough, you can two-hand it and switch to your shield if you have to block. But I find it more effective to use a good thrusting weapon instead, while able to shield at any moment. Let's talk about the tips for him during runs. So when you start runs, your whirlwind skill is really useful early on for killing trash mobs because it will stagger them a lot. And with the large AoE, you can take down multiple enemies more easily. However, it does lack efficiency in boss fights if it can't flinch them. I would always clear the first little camp with him at the start of a run, because on level 2 he gets a huge amount of health added compared to the other levels, so it makes it easier to survive hits early on. Your equipment mostly consists of good melee weapons and shields, so you can just focus on clearing points of interest just for the reward, because that is where they drop. I do find it hard to get a good shield to drop most of the time, so what you might want to do is upgrade your starting shield with smithing stones. You can easily get it upgraded to +1 at merchants near points of interest by buying the smithing stone and then use the anvil. You can also check if he does sell a good shield for you before upgrading, so you can just buy that one instead. Usually great shields have a higher guard boost, but it also really depends on the rarity. But any shield does work with the passive. If you happen to be near a mine, you can try to quickly clear it for the +2 smithing stone and even a +1 smithing stone, so you can upgrade your starting shield even further if you won't be able to find a good shield in runs. However, for your weapons, it's much easier to get them rolled from rewards, so I would not upgrade your starting halberd. You do want to find a high damage thrust weapon, but if not, any weapon that scales with strength would be good enough during your run to deal damage. But if you are nearing the end of day 2, you do want to have a high damage thrust weapon so you can attack while blocking in your passive, because this does make it easier not to die and still deal damage. During runs, you want to get a lot of buffs that increase your stamina and health if possible, and any buff that will trigger with guarding, like gaining health when blocking or bonuses when you do a guard counter. To get these buffs regularly, you want to clear the encampments and ruins around the map and also do the castle in the middle for your best bet on rolling a good buff. Talismans can also help you a lot if you do find anything that enhances something with guarding, and also health or stamina increase is great. So if you do find these scarabs around the map that will drop these talismans, you should try taking them down. If you're clearing the castles, there is a desk with a map at the top of them you can interact with to see the scarabs around the area. With the passives from weapons, the most useful ones are the ones that give you a lot of damage negation triggers and enhances the guard counters, because you do play a role as a tank that you want to get aggro for enemies, so you need a lot of survivability to not die and be able to easily revive your damage dealers when needed. Your ult is good for this, but can also be used offensively, especially early in the run where the possibility of dying isn't that high, so you can quickly clear mobs with it to complete the point of interest much quicker. If you're facing a hard boss where the possibility of dying is much higher, you do want to hold on to your ult for when teammates are down for a second time, and especially a third time, because it is harder to get them up, and your ult can instantly get them up regardless of which revive circle they are on. Also, don't forget to hold your ult down to stay on the ground for a brief moment to give everyone a protective shield so you can't take any damage, to make it easier to kill the boss or block combo attacks when you revive teammates so they can easily heal up or get back in a good position. Further on the relics, if you do complete all the Guardian's Remembrances quest, you can have a relic that boosts your ultimate ability, so it will heal during the protective shield aura, which does heal for quite a lot. So this is great after reviving teammates, so you can heal them back to full, and also when you don't have any flask left. Another relic that is pretty good for the Guardian is the relic you get from beating Fulgar, Champion of Nightglow. This relic will enhance your stamina, which is great for blocking, boost your guard counters based on your current HP, and restore HP on thrusting counterattacks. What thrusting counterattack means is when the enemies are winding up attacks and you hit them during this window before the hit of the attack. This is great for attacking while blocking with Steel Guard, because this will happen automatically when hitting the enemies while they attack you, so you get some health back. But guys, that wraps up this guide for Guardian. I hope this was helpful. If it was, you could leave a like to support the video and comment down below if you have some questions or other useful tips for Guardian. If you do want more content like this one, you can subscribe to the channel for more. But I thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.